everyone, my name is Kiara Schuh and I'm here to talk a little bit about my publishing journey in publishing my new book, Chosen Family. Chosen Family is about my journey as a donor-conceived woman, and I really wrote about my journey being raised by my mom, who's a single mom by choice, who decided to have kids in her early 40s. And I also talk a lot about my journey trying to find DNA-related family, so donor siblings and potentially my donor. And I really encompass the whole thing by kind of redefining what family means to me. And that family is not just defined by blood, it's also defined by love and intentionality. So you have the power to define who you consider your family. And I really want to talk about how I got here, because it's been a long road. It took me about 3.5 years to write and publish Chosen Family. I started when I was about 22. I had just graduated college and started my journey finding my DNA-related family, and there was a lot of twists and turns in my discoveries and my conversations and a lot of self-realization. So I kept telling my story with friends and family and had heard kind of countless times, you should write a book. And I agreed. So I started writing when I had just graduated college. I was off for the summer before I started working in the corporate world. So I took kind of about 3 months to write. And I probably wrote at least over 50% of the book those first few months because I had a lot of ideas swirling around in my head and I had a lot of free time on my hands. And then as I was thinking that this was going to be, a passion project of mine that I wanted to see to completion, I joined a writing class. I have no English experience or writing experience to kind of fall back on. I am not very good at grammar, which was pretty evident in the editing process. I relied heavily on Word, their autocorrect to kind of help me correct my grammar, and relied heavily on my editors. So as I was writing, I knew that I would kind of have to invest in my self-learning and try to figure out how the publishing process works, how the writing process works, and what I would need to do to get my book out there. So as I mentioned, I started taking a in-person writing class in Chicago. I just kind of Googled, writing classes in Chicago, started taking one for about 6 weeks, 1 day a week. And that was kind of the first time where I was writing. I was given prompts. I was not really graded, but I was given tips and critiques on my writing, which was pretty helpful. And then from there, I joined another writing class, which was more virtual, and it did encompass more of the publishing process if you wanted to go the traditional route to try to get published by a traditional publisher, or if you wanted to go the self-publishing route. So that was my first introduction into the publishing world in my second class. And then I also decided to attend a virtual Women in Publishing conference, which really connected me to a lot of people in the industry. And I was really able to learn a lot about, again, do I want to self-publish? Do I want to traditionally publish? I think first, before you even decide how you want to get your book published, you just have to start writing. I spent at least 2.5 years just writing before I even took steps to publish Chosen Family. Yes, I may have been educating myself and trying to formulate a plan, but I just was writing. I would text myself if I ever got a thought or an idea. I would email myself, text myself. That happened a lot. I probably have a bajillion texts just to myself or in my notes app. You can also carry a journal with you. I feel like a lot of times when you're sharing your story with others, fiction, nonfiction, whatever you want to write about, a lot of ideas may pop into your head. So it's always great to kind of get those down on paper and let that influence your writing. Go home when you feel that inspiration spark, take some time to write. There was months where I wrote all the time, many days a week. And then there were months where I didn't really write at all, probably 5 or 6 months or so where I kind of, I had it in the back of my mind that this is something that I was still working on, but I wasn't fully taking a proactive approach to take steps forward. I needed a break. There's a lot going on in life, and that's okay. It's okay to kind of put put it on the bookshelf, wait a little bit, and come back to it. I also believe that everyone has a story to tell. We all have a story in us, regardless of you want to write a fantasy novel or you want to write about your life. I feel like we all have something to learn from each other. So just because you don't have a background in writing or you've never written a book or you don't know how, please don't let that stop you. I didn't know how, and there were definitely a lot of tears and a lot of like sad moments or setbacks, but there were also a lot of happy moments, and the end was definitely more than worth it. So don't let that stop you, and definitely keep going on your journey. The next thing I did, kind of once I got to a spot where I was feeling pretty good about where my writing was at, I had over 60,000 words written, which is probably 200 and some odd book pages. I needed to formulate a little bit more of a plan if I was going to self-publish or if I was going to try to get a publisher the traditional route. If you are going the traditional route, you typically have to get an agent, which first you have to send them a query letter, which kind of includes, who you are, what your book is about, a little bit about your experience. And also each agent is a little bit different in what they require. So I researched agents that may take submissions for my type of book, which is a memoir, and looked at their individual requirements and kept those in like a Google Doc to see what I would eventually need to send to them. And once an agent wants to hear more from you, they may ask for your book proposal, which includes a lot more lengthy information about your book. Again, like your target market, your experience, your audience, who you are trying to influence. You kind of write about, sometimes you add in sample chapters, an outline, what your book is going to look like. And so I had originally started to work on a book proposal because I thought that I wanted to go the traditional route. And then I kind of was thinking, what the pros and cons were. And for me, I think self-publishing made sense. Self-publishing can happen a little bit quicker, so that's one of the pros of self-publishing. If you want to get an agent and a publisher, it takes a long time, and I already spent a couple years on this project, so I knew that I wanted to get it out the door a little bit quicker. So for me, self-publishing made a little bit more sense. I know sometimes self-publishing requires a little bit more cost on yourself. So I did pay for editors, I paid for, writing conferences or books that I read to learn about writing and publishing. And I also ended up paying someone to do the interior design of my book. So kind of laying it out into a upload ready format. So I know obviously that's an investment that requires a commitment, and not everyone obviously wants to do that. So for me though, it made sense, and I ultimately decided to self-publish. Another reason why I self-published was that when you publish through a publisher, they have a little bit more of the creative control. Yes, you can advocate for yourself, you can voice your opinion for the cover page, for the title, things that really matter to you that you want to make sure stay in the book. But they also, they have a job to do. They know what works a lot of the times. So they have their own editors, designers, and, cover page creators to make the book sell, which is also a pro of publishing. Obviously, you get that expertise, which is fantastic. Because this is my memoir and very close to me, I wanted to make sure my story was very authentic to myself, and I kind of had that creative control. So for me, that was a pro of self-publishing. But again, obviously, then I didn't get that lovely expertise that comes with a publisher. So from then on, when I was on my new self-publishing journey, I first hired a now friend, Amanda Carpenter, who was my kind of book coach, editor, social media guru, friend, all in one. She definitely helped me really bring my book together. We moved around chapters, we cut sections, we renamed chapters, we picked the cover page, we picked, the title and the subtitle, and we really just kind of turned it into a book. We took my first draft and turned it into a book, which I was definitely very proud of, and was really definitely her help was so amazing, and I don't even know if I would be done today without her, because she really sped up the process in 3 months. We took it from a messy draft to pretty much an almost completed manuscript. And then from there, I hired a copy/line editor to really go through, get out all the grammar kinks, because there were definitely a lot, as I mentioned. And that was awesome. And then after that, I hired a company to do the interior design. So I designed the exterior because I was using a photo from when I was a child. And so I just made, this and this and this on Canva. Pretty easy. You can also make a lot of social media content on Canva. And then they did the interior of it. So they kind of put it into a book. And then went back and forth with them a couple times about just fixing little things, but after they gave me file-ready formats, I can literally just upload your book to Amazon. I self-published using Amazon KDP, and then also self-publishing using Ingram Sparks. Those are the two primary companies to self-publish with. Ingram Sparks, then you can obviously get it into like Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Target, at least in the online version. And if you want to try to get it into storefronts, Ingram Sparks is definitely the way to do that as well. I ended up publishing on both. You definitely don't have to. I would say if you're gonna do one, I would do it on Amazon. Amazon's very simple, and obviously most people buy things from Amazon these days, so very easy to have it up there and to share with the world as well. Once I had my book ready to go on Amazon, I ordered proof copies, which they just send you a copy to make sure everything looks good. I ended up changing a few things last minute, and then pretty much you just click publish, and it takes a day or two, so you're kind of just waiting in anticipation. And then I announced to the world, which was a really, really exciting day. And then after that, I celebrated with some family and my chosen family a few days later at my launch party. So anyone doing any sort of publishing project or any project, whatever, you launch a course, you ace a test, you get into grad school, you, do a DIY home project, whatever you're doing, if you complete something, celebrate yourself. Typically my version of that is popping some champagne. So, and then honestly, now I'm taking a few months off of work to really promote my book and get my message out there and really think about, what else I want to do with my book, my voice, my message, and how I can be of service to others and redefining, what family means to me, because that's definitely my mission. So I'm trying to take a few months off for some self-reflection, which I'm excited about. I don't want to say that this project / publishing a book was not without its struggles. It definitely was. My first writing class that I talked about in Chicago, my in-person writing class that I was, critiqued for the first time, I was actually told that I didn't have a book on my hands. I had sent our teacher a few chapters and she was like, I think you actually have some good blog posts. So that was, kind of like a slap in the face, but whatever you're doing and trying to put out into the world, there's definitely going to be some resistance that you have to prepare yourself for. Some you may see coming, others you may not. So besides that, I think things, not working out as I anticipated. The book cover I thought was going to be a little bit easier than it was to do myself. And struggles too, I think I probably would have had a few more too if I didn't hire help. I knew the limits of my capabilities, so I hired a few people to help me get this to completion because I knew that I wasn't gonna get all the way there by myself. Definitely a lack of motivation at sometimes. Again, there was a few months where I did nothing because I was burnt out, overwhelmed, or I just lost motivation. And I just, thought to myself, where is this gonna go? Is this actually gonna be a book? Definitely to overcome that, share your story, tell everyone what you're doing, kind of keeps you in check, keeps you motivated. And then the next time you see someone, typically they ask, oh, how's that book that you're writing? Kind of motivates you to keep going. And once you tell people, you're more motivated to finish, or at least I was, definitely. Because I announced to the world through social media about a year before I published. So in January, I published in November of 2022. In January, I announced to the world via social media that I was publishing a book. I had told my family and friends much sooner than that, but I wanted the world to know that this was coming and start to generate a community of listeners that may be interested in hearing my story. So I announced to the world, which definitely kept me on my toes. So how did I know it was done? I didn't really know it was done. Even the week before I published, I actually changed something. And so I went back to my interior design people, asked them to change a bunch of words, and then I re-uploaded to Amazon and I got a new proof copy. So you're never gonna feel like you're done 100%. But I felt like I had enough eyes on it that I could say, okay, you know what? I did my best. If there's a grammar error here or there, or if I don't believe something that I wrote maybe 3 years ago now or in 5 years, that's what I thought in the moment. And that's, I think, authentic to myself and my story. So I'm gonna keep it. So you never fully feel done, but you at least feel like it's great enough and you put your heart and soul into it and you're ready for the world to see it. I'm also going to link in the comments the courses that I took or the people that I connected with to kind of take me through this journey. What I wish I knew in the beginning is that it's not easy, and maybe I knew that, but I didn't know that it was going to take me necessarily this long. I also think 3.5 years to write and publish a book at this point is probably pretty great, especially with having a full-time job. In the beginning, I wanted it done and out there within the year, which I know now is pretty unrealistic. It can be realistic if you're self-publishing, but if you're going through a publisher, probably not realistic. And I just wish I knew that, what I know now is that your story matters. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. Your story matters. So even if you've never thought of writing a book, maybe you share your story through social media. Maybe you share your story through the internet, on a blog, with family and friends. You do a podcast, you do YouTube videos, or you just have casual conversations with your family. I think we all have something to share with the world, and that's what's so inspiring about meeting new people and learning from others. So I definitely think you can write a book, but if you don't want to, that's okay. And you can share your voice in so many other ways. But I believe everyone has a story to tell, and I'm excited to hear your story. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. You can follow me on Instagram at Kiara Schuh, or go to kiaraschuh.com. And I'm excited for everyone to read my book. Thank you.